Okay, last night, a little before 8:30 p.m., police received a report for shots fired, James and Market Street. Also information that someone was running with a child. Police officers responded, ascertained that a little 7-year-old girl was shot in front of a residence there. Apparently, a stepfather picked her up, ran her towards Lancaster General Hospital. At that point, a young man in a car offered to take them to the hospital and transport them there. Lancaster General worked to stabilize her before getting her transported up to Hershey Medical Center. We had information from the area. Numerous people were interviewed. There was a report of a silver BMW or Mercedes vehicle that was fleeing that area. At this point in the investigation, we don't know if that vehicle was involved in the actual shooting of a little girl or a vehicle that possibly could have been fired at. So we don't know who the intended target was. What we do know is that a 7-year-old girl was shot, and what we are asking for the public to do, somebody knows individual or individuals involved in this horrendous crime. And you know, if I could paint a picture for you, last night at the hospital, an emergency room, a little girl laying on the table with several doctors and nurses tending to her, and a distraught young mother down the hallway, not knowing what's going to happen to her daughter. And a crime like this, somebody that has absolutely no regard for human life, that would fire a weapon and strike a child. The latest update we have on the child, she's still listed in critical condition, but it seems like there's some progress, and we would keep a little girl in your prayers. But we absolutely want the assistance of the public in finding this person. Somebody out there knows this individual or individuals involved in it, and there's absolutely, we want the person that did this crime to understand that there is, we'll go to no ends to capture them. It's not just Lancaster Bureau of Police looking for this individual, but every law enforcement agency in this community. And nobody in this building is going to rest until this person is brought to justice. So probably the best thing they could do is turn themselves in. We'll eventually narrow in, and we will attempt to make an arrest in this case as soon as possible. Is there any questions?
Do you have any idea what the motive would have been for this shooting?
No, I absolutely no idea what the motive is, but you know what the police and the public are absolutely tired of are individuals that have, for whatever reason, a beef with somebody, or think that it's okay to fire a weapon on a city street. And as you see in too many cases, not just here, but throughout the country, somebody that has absolutely nothing to do with the criminal element ends up getting shot because some individual thinks it's okay to pull a weapon out and just fire. So I don't know what their intentions were, and I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in capturing them. And believe me, that person should know that there's absolutely nobody in this community that is going to be sympathetic to any reasons whatsoever why this crime would happen. So, you know, what I hope they realize is, while they're perhaps fleeing and trying to solicit help from friends, that, you know, in an incident like this with a little girl being shot, I've even seen in my 30 years the hardest of criminal element actually turn somebody in for a crime like that. So this individual should be very nervous now about the people they've surrounded himself with, that are probably going to be the ones that call and tell us where this person is.
Are you willing to identify the girl at this point?
I'm sorry, say.
Are you willing to identify her? What's her name?
No, she's 7 years old. She's recuperating from life-threatening injuries, and we're not going to release that.
Were there any cameras in the area?
Where exactly was she shot on the body, sir?
In the legs and the lower torso.
How many times?
At least three or four times.
You said that she was in critical condition, but showing some progress. Why do you say showing some progress?
Well, our detectives have been in constant contact with the hospital. Lieutenant Barringer spoke to someone at the hospital within the last hour, and the fact that she was able to be transported up to Hershey Medical, at least last night, was a good sign, because that's where she needs to be. And you know, God bless the staff at Lancaster General, because we witnessed them working on the little girl, and believe me, that whole ER staff was in that room, making sure that her life was saved, and indeed it was.
Do you know how many other kids may have been playing outside with the little girl last night?
Well, she was in front of her house with her family, with a younger sister and her mother and stepfather. And as if you recall, last night was a very mild night. A lot of folks were out, and they should have a reasonable expectation to sit in front of their own house without being shot, especially a 7-year-old girl.
Are there any cameras on the West James Street?
Well, also we're reviewing cameras. There are cameras there. Those are being intensely reviewed. And again, that's something that the criminals should realize, that somebody saw it, or several individuals, if not the cameras. But when all of that's pulled together, there'll be an apprehension.
Now, we did hear that the family, like I think Tima said, that they're from out of town. Just moved here. Do you know anything about that?
I believe they've lived on that street for a few months at the most. I'm not sure where they lived prior to that.
And just what's your reaction to those 30 years in law enforcement? A 7-year-old is shot. How do you feel?
Well, personally, there's nothing that you could ever get used to for a child or elderly person being injured. I mean, a 7-year-old child that's just defenseless, would have no idea that somebody's shooting, and you know, to be a victim of a crime at that age just makes all the more reason why this person needs to be captured quickly.
Do you think it's one person, or do you think it could be a group
Well,
of people?
I've said individual or individuals. If the vehicle that I described is involved in the shooting, of course they need to be apprehended. If that vehicle perhaps was the intended target, they still need to come forward, because we need to know and find out what actually happened out there. So at this point, without having detailed information yet, it could be individual or individuals. So, you know, as soon as we know more, we'll get that out there. But the main purpose of this press conference is to really get the media to encourage people to call in about this, because I guarantee you somebody already knows what happened. And you know, if the person is trying to flee the area and there's people helping them, they're going to be arrested as well. So I'm hoping that you put this out there as much as you possibly can.
What kind of a gun was it? What bullets? What caliber?
You know, honestly, I don't know. The fact that whatever kind of bullets would strike this child, I mean, at some point there'll be a forensic report on that. But you know, if you can imagine that, you know, everybody in this room that has children or nieces, nephews, whatever, you know how upset you get when a 7-year-old gets a fever and has to stay out of school for a day. So you probably can't even begin to imagine what the mother was going through last night, knowing that this little girl was shot.
Are you certain that the gunfire came from inside of a car? I mean, are you 100% certain of that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what we're trying to determine, because if the gunfire didn't come from the vehicle that I described, then perhaps that vehicle might have been an intended target. But we'll find that out. But it's important for anybody that is involved in that incident that may not be the shooter should certainly step forward.
Where exactly
give some
was the
information.
vehicle at when the shots were fired, precisely?
The intersection of James and Market.
Was it on James or was it on Market?
Well, if a car, not to be technical and geographical on you, if it's in the middle of the intersection, it's
Okay.
in both streets. And literally, that's the information I have.
Are you
Right.
expecting to have anything else later today? I mean, I know you said you guys are going over reviewing
Well-
tapes, so you're going to have maybe a license plate or anything more of a better description we can get out there?
Believe me, as soon as we have that, you'll have that
Okay.
immediately, because we're going to want to get that out ASAP.
Okay.
And, you know, that, I'm confident that somebody out there, once you folks put this out there, are going to give us more information. All right?
Chief, we're going to do it. Thank you. Thank you.